Hello, my friends. So, this week I am going to show you how to make something. So that like flower crown I had on my head in that picture, I made myself. I used paper bag, which I have an abundance of since our grocery store stopped letting you bring in your own bag just for like health and safety reasons. So we're getting a lot of paper bags. And my grocery store doesn't have plastic bags, so that's why we have to get the paper ones. So to do this, I'm going to start by drawing a flower. I started by making kind of a plus sign to create four sections. So I'm drawing four petals. I put one petal in each section. So if I make four petals on this flower, I'm going to end up with three petals because how I make it kind of three-dimensional looking is I cut it out at the end and I overlap two of the petals and glue them together. So keep in mind that if you make something with seven petals, you're going to end up with six petals. If you want a lot of petals, don't make just four petals, make a bunch of petals. I'll show you what that looks like later. So I'm using colored pencil on my paper bag, and this worked out like super well. Mostly because the paper bag has kind of a toothiness to it. So the texture of the paper is just a little bit rough. It's not as smooth as like drawing paper would be, so it does a really good job grabbing onto that colored pencil and holding it. The kind of downside to that, and you'll see that a few times during this video, is that it wears your pencils down pretty quickly. That doesn't really bother me, it's pretty satisfying to like see a pencil get used up. But if you have really super duper nice colored pencils, you might want to use slightly cheaper ones for this project. So I colored in my petals. I didn't do like a perfect job, but what I did do that makes them look really nice is I used more than one color. I didn't just color them in yellow. I did yellow and pink, and then at the very end, I looked for any little empty spaces I had, and I colored those in purple. So how you're going to make this three-dimensional is now you're going to cut all the way to the center between two of the petals, cut to the center, to the very center of that plus sign. That's going to let you kind of fold the petals over each other. Otherwise, they would kind of bunch up weird. I'm using Elmer's glue. For the rest of the ones that I did, I used hot glue just because it's a lot faster. But if you were just making a couple of these, you could definitely use regular glue. If you had like a paper clip lying around, you could kind of paper clip it until it dries all the way. So here I held it for 10 seconds. That was 10 seconds. And you can see it's not totally glued. So I've sped this part up. I held it for maybe like 20 more seconds. I just like pinched it between my hands to give that glue enough time to really grab on to both sections of paper. Otherwise, it's just going to fall apart. So the other super important thing to do to make your flowers look really kind of, I don't know, not even realistic, but just like floral, is to curl the paper just a little bit. So to curl paper, you can just take the paper and wrap it around a pencil. So that's what I did. It was a little weird to do it with the wet glue there, but it worked okay. It kind of almost worked a little bit better, so I could almost just shape it with my finger. So I curled all of my petals, I just hold them for a second, and then you can kind of manipulate it with your fingers a little bit also. Adding things like leaves will make it look also more flowery. I like the three petal one when it's with all the other ones. I don't love it so much just on its own. So when I made my flower crown, I used a lot of variation. So that means that things aren't all just the same. There are things that are a little bit different. So that gives us a little bit of visual interest. There's a lot of different things to look at. So here I'm just going to kind of give you the like basics of how to make one with more petals. When I made these, I did find that I liked having some petals that are just a touch bigger and some that are a little smaller. I think that looks a little bit more realistic because in real life, flowers aren't perfect. So you can see one of the sections right down there at the bottom is a little bit bigger than the others. And I kind of did that on purpose. I kind of like that. What drawing the sections does though is it kind of gives you a guideline for how big your petals should be. And it just kind of makes it easier. For me, it makes it easier to draw the flower. And here I am coloring it in. You can see me sharpen that purple pencil. Um, and I'm using more than one color. If I just colored these petals all blue, it wouldn't look as interesting. So I push down really hard with my colored pencil. It's good to give your fingers a little stretch break. And then I overlap two of the petals and glue them together. And here I'm just making a couple of the leaves. Again, with the leaves, making them all one color green isn't going to be as interesting as using a couple colors of green. Or if you don't have more than one green colored pencil, what you can do is use the other colors that are close to it on the color wheel. So either yellow or a little bit of blue in with that green. Okay, my friends, have a wonderful rest of your day.